Okay, let's hear from some folks via the David Pakman Show Discord, davidpakman.com/Discord. We hope that the Discord gods will look upon us favorably today and that we have good connections and auspicious conversations. Let's go to Javi from DC first. Javi from DC, you're on the air.
Oh, David, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
And my own voice is echoing back, so ideally you would be maybe listening in headphones or turning down your speakers.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just in a Zoom class, actually. Let me try to fix that.
Wow, we're interrupting class. That's wild.
Okay, is that better?
It is.
Okay. So I was wondering, do you think that there's the Republicans are going to have their own version of Bill Clinton in a sense that due to, I guess, branding issues, they're going to want to have a candidate that moves them to the left the same way that Bill Clinton further moved Democrats to the right? You know, like a Republican that says, you know what, Obamacare is the free market solution to healthcare. You know what, we're going to legalize drugs and try to center all those, now it's kind of a centrist policy, but I think there's a market for like progressive policies, but framed in the right direction. Do you think that that's something that's going to happen or something that's possible?
Well, I'm not so sure that I understand that by today's standards, Bill Clinton is no progressive, but I'd have to think more about whether in 1992, Bill Clinton moved the Democratic Party to the right. Is that what you're saying as part of your premise, that in 92, Clinton was a rightward move for the Democratic Party? That's a while ago.
That's true.
In any case, I mean, I think that there's more to explore there, but let me focus on your main question. I think the answer is it's too early to know. And it really comes down to, do Republicans learn anything from the Trump fiasco? How will we be able to tell? Well, we'll be able to tell when we look at, like, do Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and Madison Cawthorn, do they end up being one-term wonders and immediately voted out in 2022? Or do they get second terms? That would be a signal about what the Republican Party thinks it needs at this point in time. Does Sarah Huckabee Sanders, riding on being Trump's former press secretary, win the gubernatorial Republican primary in Arkansas? Do Ivanka or Lara Trump or any of them run successfully for something? I think we don't yet know what the Republican Party will think it needs to do.
Well, then let me entertain this. Do you think that there's and I've seen this a little bit with, like Joe Scarborough talking about Medicare for all. I've heard Kyle Kalinske talk about that, and how his rationale is that it actually is, a set of policies that maximizes freedom, maximizes individualism, maximizes entrepreneurship. And so he centers the progressive policy within a sort of like right-wing direction. You can see that with like marijuana, people that are pushing for legalizing drugs.
Yep.
It is the more liberty-oriented, quote-unquote, position. I was wondering, do you think that there's the possibility that candidates that have, I guess, that viewpoint of, hey, I'm not doing things just because, I guess, like the donor class or like elites that are, entwined with politicians want something. I'm doing these things because, one, they're good for people, and that's the whole question of, how you craft a society. And then two, it actually fits within conservative ideology of like, I value markets, I value individualism, I value family, and taking these ideas that are progressive and then maybe having more so like a free market approach to that.
So this is not a new idea. This is the idea of appealing to your typical political opponents by framing your positions in ways that appeal to their values. And you and I aren't going to be able to figure out whether that is or isn't a good idea today. There's a lot of scholarship on you should, like, for example, you're making a perfect case here. The liberty argument with something like cannabis. Even if that's not the reason why the left supports legalization, we can appeal to the right by framing it as an issue that appeals to their values. The first question is whether that's effective, and there's a lot of debate about that. The second question is whether the problem with it is that a lot of modern conservatism is not really motivated by liberty. They claim to be, but they really aren't. They're actually very authoritarian. And as George Lakoff writes, they subscribe to something called strict father morality, which is if you do something bad, your dad has to punish you for it, even if you can justify it in some way. And so I would want to think more about that. I'm not so sure.
Okay. But anyway, David, I actually heard about strict father. I forgot the third word, but like the strict father kind of like political theory or whatever through hearing you on Joe Rogan. So thank you for putting me on that. That was really interesting. But I'm going to let you go, but I do want to thank you one last time because this time last year I was in a government class with a teacher that didn't teach very much. And, you know, I was also voting for the first time, and your channel and other channels kind of helped me understand issues and,
Beautiful.
Discover different policies and some political philosophy. So thank you for that, David.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I hope to speak to you again. Very well said. I like that. One of our sponsors is a free mobile game called Word Forest, which I've been having a great time playing on my phone. There are not a lot of mobile games that I actually am into, but Word Forest is one I actually enjoy because I feel like it's helping me keep my mind sharp. We need that right now. It's a word game where you connect letters in any direction to form hidden word matches with over 2,000 levels. You will never get bored of playing. It was really simple to learn how to play because it starts out easy, but I've been loving how it gets more difficult as I progress. But I find that the whole experience is just relaxing. It doesn't have to be super fast paced. It's awesome for anyone who loves word games and has a good vocabulary or wants to improve it. Go ahead and put yourself to the test. It's free. Just go to the Apple or Google store and search for Word Forest.